So welcome students. Today we are going to learn the topic of linear inequations. So this is a very simple topic and this comes handy when solving questions on different topics. So what is a linear inequality? So to understand that, let us first try to revise our knowledge on linear equations. So what is a linear equation? A linear equation is the equation of the form ax plus b is equal to 0. For example, so you can take a linear equation which looks like 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. So this is a linear equation. So what makes it a linear equation? What is the meaning of linear? What is the meaning of equation? So linear means that the degree of the variable is equal to 1. It is the maximum power of the variable present, which is x in the equation, is equal to 1. That's why it is called a linear equation. Now, why is it called an equation? We have an equality. So 2x power 1 plus 5 is equal to 0 is a linear equation. Now, what is a linear inequation? A linear inequation is a linear equation itself where the equality is replaced by any one of the signs greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, greater than or less than. So if equality is replaced by any one of these signs, then such equations are called inequations. So inequations, linear inequations look like ax plus b greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or less than one of these signs 0. So for example, 2x plus 5 greater than or equal to 0. So this is a very simple example of linear inequation in the variable x. So you can create linear inequations in other variables also. Now, so what are we going to study in linear inequations? So in linear inequations, we are just going to study how to solve linear inequations. So in your lower classes, you have studied how to solve linear equations. So for example, 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. So how do we solve a linear equation? So we try to bring the variable onto one side and send all the other constants onto the other side of the equality. That is, 2x is equal to minus 5. So this plus 5, if it is going onto that side, becomes minus 5. And x is equal to minus 5 by 2. This 2, if it goes onto this side, becomes 1 by 2. So the solution of this equation is x is equal to minus 5 by 2. So while doing this, we have used some rules. So what are the rules that we have used? What are the rules that you have learned in solving linear equations? That is, if you have plus something on this side of the equal to, if it goes onto that side, it becomes minus 5. If there is minus 5 here, if it goes onto that side, it becomes plus 5. So plus something becomes minus something becomes plus something. And if you have 2 into x, if 2 goes onto that side, it becomes divided by 2. That is, if a multiplicand goes onto that side, it becomes divided by. And if you have x by 2, if it goes onto that side, it becomes into 2. So these are some of the rules that we use in solving equations. So let us use the same rules for solving inequations also. Let us see if they work or not. So let us do this. So 2x is greater than or equal to, if plus 5 goes onto that side, becomes minus 5. So 2x greater than or equal to minus 5. So x is greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. Looks good. So if you look at the answer for this inequation, this will be the answer, right? This is the right answer that you get. But are we using the rules consistently? So does the rules that we use here work always? So now let us do the same inequation in a different way. So let us solve it in a different way. So now instead of sending 5 onto that side, let us send 2x onto that side. That is, 5 is greater than or equal to minus 2x. If plus 2x goes onto that side, it becomes minus 2x. So now let us bring this minus 2 onto this side. So 5 by minus 2 is greater than or equal to x. This implies x is less than or equal to minus 5 by 2. So 5 by minus 2 is same as minus 5 by 2. So you got the answer as x less than minus 5 by 2. So here you got the answer as x is greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. We have used the similar rules. We have used the same rules. That is, if a plus number goes from this side to that side, it becomes minus, and multiplicand becomes divided by. But once you got the answer x greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2, you got the answer x less than or equal to minus 5 by 2. Obviously, both these answers cannot be right. If one answer is right, the other should be wrong. So, in the theory of linear inequations, we are going to observe what went wrong in one of these methods. So, something should have gone wrong in one of these methods. And what is that wrong? So, to understand that, we have 4 rules of linear inequations. So, we need to understand those 4 rules of linear inequations. So, let us go forward. So, the first rule of inequality says that any number can be uniformly added or subtracted from both sides of inequality. Can be added or subtracted from both sides of inequality. So, is the first rule which you already know. The wording might be confusing for you, but this is a thing which you do from your childhood. So, 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0 if you have this inequality. Any number can be added or subtracted from both sides of inequality. That is, what I can do is so one side of inequality has 2x plus 5, the other side has 0. So I can add a minus 5 or I can subtract a 5 from both sides of inequality. This can be done. That is, plus 5 minus 5 becomes 0. 2x is greater than or equal to minus 5. This step is right. That is, 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0 implies 2x greater than or equal to minus 5 is right. Similarly, if 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0, any number can be uniformly added or subtracted on both sides of the inequality. So what I do is 2x plus 5, I'll subtract 2x on both sides of the inequality. So 2x minus 2x gets cancelled. 5 is greater than or equal to minus 2x. This step is also right. There's nothing wrong in these two steps. Because first rule says that any number, either positive or negative, any real number can be added or subtracted on both sides of inequality. So now let us go to the second rule. The second rule says that any positive number can be multiplied or divided on both sides of inequality. Here I am putting a condition. Any positive number can be multiplied or divided on both sides of the inequality. Now you have 2x greater than or equal to minus 5. 2x greater than or equal to minus 5. I can uniformly divide both of these sides by 2. That is, I can do by 2 here, by 2 here. So if I do this, 2 and 2 gets cancelled. This implies x is greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. There is nothing wrong with this step. So x greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2 is right. So now let us go to this side. 5 is greater than or equal to minus 2x. Now if you divide both sides with 2, so 5 by 2 is greater than or equal to minus x. There is nothing wrong with this step. But if I want to send this minus onto this side, I need to divide with minus 1 or I need to multiply with minus 1. So can I multiply it with minus 1? Till now you have no rule which says that what should be done with negative numbers. So if a positive number can be multiplied or divided on the both sides of inequality. That's the second rule. Now let us go forward to see what should happen if I multiply or divide with negative numbers. So the third rule says that if a negative number If a negative number is multiplied or divided on both sides of the inequality, the sign of inequality changes. So if a negative number is multiplied or divided on both sides of inequality, then the sign of inequality changes. Inequality changes. That's the third rule. So from this rule, you can see what should be done in this method. 2x plus 5 greater than or equal to 0. So in the second method that we have done, if I send this 2x onto that side, 5 is greater than or equal to minus 2x. And this plus 2 can be brought onto this side. There is no problem. That is 5 by 2 is greater than or equal to minus x. Now if you want to make this minus x into plus x, you have two options. I can either multiply both sides with minus 1 or divide both sides with minus 1. So whatever I do, if a negative number is multiplied or divided on both sides, the sign of inequality has to change. So if I uniformly multiply both sides with minus 2, you get minus 5 by 2 here. Minus of minus x is x here. What happens to the sign of the inequality? It reverses, that is greater than or equal to will become less than or equal to. That means the final answer is x is greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. So now once you have consistently used the rules of inequalities, you get the same answer whatever method you use. So 2x plus 5 greater than or equal to 0, 2x greater than or equal to minus 5, x is greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. And here also you got x greater than or equal to minus 5 by 2. So this is the right answer to the inequality. This is the right solution to the inequality. So this is a very simple rule. If a negative number is multiplied or divided, then the sign of inequality changes. You have to remember this. This is the most critical point in linear inequations. So now let us go to the fourth rule, which is again related to this rule, which is called cross multiplication rule. Cross multiplication rule. This says that if A by B is greater than or equal to C by D, if you have a fraction here greater than or equal to or less than or equal to some fraction here. So how do we compare it with the solution of A by B equal to C by D? So you have encountered these equations like this in your lower classes. If A by B is equal to C by D, we know the cross multiplication rule, which says that AD is equal to BC. Can we do the same thing with inequations? Yes and no. So let us see what can be done here. So if A by B is greater than C by D, this implies AD is greater than or equal to BC. Can be done if this can be done if B comma D are of same sign. So cross multiplication can be done consistently AD greater than BC if B and D are of the same sign, that is either both are positive or both are negative. And AD is less than or equal to BC, that is the sign changes, the sign reverses if B comma D are of opposite sign. So this is called the cross multiplication rule. If you cross multiply with inequalities, so direct cross multiplication can be done if B and D are of both the denominators are of the same sign. You have to change the sign of the inequality if B and D are of the opposite sign. So these are the four rules of inequalities. So now let us apply these inequalities to solve our problems.